Good day to one and all. Before we get into this session, first of all, thanks a lot for the kind of support that you've given to the previous video. So that was our first video, and the kind of support that we could garner, the kind of support that you gave us, it meant the world to us. Thanks a lot for that. So for all those who are viewing this channel for the first time, please do subscribe to the videos. And please keep sharing our videos with the maximum lot as possible, with as many study circles as possible, because the benefit of it would be widespread, and two, it will be the biggest source of motivation for us who are doing here to keep giving interesting stuff every time. So let's get into this session. This session is on Chapter 2, Business Studies, Class 12, Principles of Management. So first let's start with definition of principles of management. So principles of management So principles of management, as per the book definition, is a broad and general guideline. It's a broad and general guideline for decision making and behavior. So in the last chapter, we have seen as to what is management. We have seen in depth what management, what is defined as management, how does it go, what is the significance of management, what is the importance of management, what are the features, what are the benefits. A lot of things we saw in the previous video. And here we get into principles. So you know as to what is management, now as to the guidelines on how you can manage things. So that is principles of management. So as per the book definition, it's a broad and general guideline for decision making and behavior. Let's get with an example which will be very easy for us to understand. So with respect to deciding on promotion for employees, say for example, one manager goes purely based on seniority of the employees, whereas the another manager goes on basis of merit. Let's take another example. During a situation of an economic slowdown or a lockdown or a recession like this, there would be certain companies which would follow the management principle of layoff, whereas there would be certain other companies which would follow the management principle of giving higher incentives to employees to boost their morale. So these are the principles of management. It's a broad and a general guideline for what? For decision making and behavior. So principles of management is a broad and general guideline for decision making and behavior. So speaking of principles of management, with respect to this particular chapter, there are two important things. There are two management gurus who have come with certain management principles which they have devised and have given to the world. So the first one is Taylor's scientific management, and the second one is Fayol's principles of management. First of all, you need to understand the primary difference between the two. I mean, we'll get into a separate differences part, but first, on the broader note, the main difference is that Taylor is a person who hails from factory administration point of view. So his scientific management is more on factory floor, is more on the supervisory management or the lower level management that we saw in our first video. Whereas this gentleman, Fayol's principles of management, is more for the general administration point of view. So in this particular video, we'll be looking more into Taylor's scientific management, the principles and the techniques. So here we go into Taylor's principles of scientific management. So let's get into Taylor's scientific management. So to understand Taylor's scientific management better, or to understand the concepts involved in it better, it will be very good if we understand who Taylor was, the kind of person Taylor was. So the person who devised scientific management principles is Frederick Winslow Taylor. He was an American mechanical engineer. He started as an apprentice mechanist in a factory workshop. So this man comes all the way from factory. He was a part of the industrial revolution, which is characterized by mass production. This was one man who wanted to perfect the way factory system of production was happening. And with this factory floor, factory setup, with the supervisory management in mind, he devised the set of principles, management principles, which are called Taylor's scientific management principles. So what does Taylor's scientific management principles says? Taylor was one man who prophesied a creative and innovative workforce with a very qualified and trained management. He wanted both of this. He wanted an innovative and a creative workforce, and it was coupled with a trained and a qualified management, because only this combination would complement each other is what he thought. And this man, Taylor, he took science as the approach for management principle. What do you mean by science as an approach? So what do they do? First of all, he defines the problem. He develops alternative solutions. And once alternative solutions are done, he starts anticipating the consequences as to, if I do that, what would happen? If I do this, what would happen? If I do that differently, what would be the output? So he starts anticipating the consequences. And with each alternative solution, he starts measuring the progress, finds out the best results, and finally he draws his conclusions. So in Taylor's own words, scientific management is to understand what you want your men to do. Is to understand what you want your men to do and to make sure they do it in the cheapest and the best way possible. So he always thought there was only one most scientific method to do anything in the best way possible, and that's what Taylor's scientific principle management is all about. So here we get into the principles of scientific management. Management involves 4 principles. The first one is science, not rule of thumb. Second one, harmony, not discord. Third one, cooperation, not individualism. And the fourth one is development of each and every individual to his or her greatest efficiency and prosperity. So the bottom line of any of Taylor's principles is there's only one scientific method to do anything. So he always believed there was only one standard method to do anything. First, getting into the first principle, science, not rule of thumb. So what is rule of thumb? Traditional managers before Taylor came into picture, they used to think of solutions only as and when the problem arises. For example, there's a problem now, they just think of a solution at that point in time. There will not be any ready reckoner solution as such. As and when a problem arises, they think of solutions, and that solution would be based on their mood swing at that point in time, their presence of mind, their common sense, what they are going through, what they think is right at that point in time, their ethical values at that point in time. So all this would come into picture. There's no standard method. So what happens because of this? You'll not know which method will work at which point in time. It is all trial and error basis only. So that's what is rule of thumb. What Taylor suggested was, boss, this rule of thumb is not going to work. Have one scientific method for any problem. For this problem, this is the solution. For this problem, this is the solution. So have a ready reckoner solution for each and every problem. For all the tailor-made problems, have ready reckoner solutions is what Taylor said. And why did he suggest this? Because he believed only one standard method, only one standard solution for any problem, and devising that standard solution will only help increase maximum efficiency. To reach that maximum potential of efficiency, only a standard method is going to help. And this, according to him, will help reduce human efforts, resources, time, energy, lot of things. It's going to reduce cost to the organization on the whole. And how did he want to do this? He wanted to unify the best practices. He wanted to conduct an investigation of the traditional method, see what is best out of that, and finally formulate one standard method based on which the entire organization would follow that particular method. So this method, which is based on scientific rules, scientific cost and effect analysis, he wanted to find one best method and to formulate it, to follow it through the organization. Let me give one example, very easy example. We would have seen some guys who would work day in and day out copying something from one file to another. They'll copy this, or they'll write the entire thing. They'll not copy, they'll write the entire thing. Whatever is in this file, they'll write it to the next file. Whereas there'll be one smart guy in the group who will get into Google, who will see what is the shortcut in Excel to copy and to paste, or to paste special, whatever. This guy will invest, say, about half an hour into this process of finding out the shortcut. But once he finds out the shortcut, the work will be done in like 2 minutes. And that is what Taylor said. So for example, today when we get into Google or when we get into YouTube, we see a lot of videos. How to tie a tie in 2 minutes. How to make the best breakfast in 3 minutes. How to do this in 4 minutes. How to do this in 5 minutes. There are a lot of things. So these are all scientific methods which are making life very easy. And this is science, not rule of thumb. Discord. So Taylor calls for a complete harmony between the workers and the management. So the two key parties who are involved in any factory management are the workers and the management. So he calls for complete harmony between the two parties. In fact, he insists on a complete mental revolution whereby the management understands the importance of workforce and the workforce understands the importance of why business should go on well. And Taylor also insists that workforce should understand that prosperity of management is very important. Prosperity of the company as a whole is very important rather than prosperity of the workforce alone. And at the same time, management should ensure that it is not just organizational objectives or organizational goals that should be met, but also the personal objectives and social objectives of the for the sake of development of the society as a whole. Let's take an example. During this economic slowdown, during this complete corona lockdown which is happening, where many companies are closing down, not able to pay their employees regular salaries, I read an article that one company, Asian Paints, is paying all its employees heavy hikes and incentives apart from their salaries. So this is just an act to boost their morale that the company is doing. The company is also giving free health insurance for all the staff members who are dealing with dealers, and it is giving about 40 crores of incentive to all the dealers, cash incentives, and a lot of cash credit which the company is offering as a facility for all its dealers, and giving a lot of salary advances to its employees. So there are a lot of things that the company is doing just to ensure there is harmony between the management and the workers, and they stand for the workers in this tough time. So this Taylor calls harmony, not discord. And the next principle, cooperation, not individualism. So this third principle of Taylor scientific management is nothing but an extension of the second principle, harmony, not discord. So what does Taylor say in this? He says that there should be paternalistic style of management whereby the employer treats employees like his own children. He takes care of the employees. Management should make sure that it listens to the demands of the employees, it listens to the suggestions of the employees, rewards them for the best suggestions, and takes employees into confidence whenever they are making some key strategic decisions. And with respect to employees, what do? With respect to workers, what do? They should desist from going on strikes. They should desist from making making unwarranted demands from management. So the employees should also make sure that they don't pester the management for unwarranted demands. So this is very important, is what Taylor says. Let's take an example. In Japan, whenever workforce is unhappy, they wear a black badge and they go for work. They work for example, if their work timing is 8 hours, they start working for like 12 hours, 15 hours at a stretch, just to show their discomfort with whatever management is doing. And looking at this, the management feels so bad that it increases the hike for the employees, it makes salary hike for the employees, or it meets the demands of the employees. So this is how usually a paternalistic style of management works. And the next one, the last principle, development of each and every individual to his or her greatest efficiency and prosperity. Please remember, industrial efficiency is equal to personal development. In case you want your company to do well, you need to train and develop your workforce, your manpower very well. So usually they say industrial efficiency is equal to personal development. And the concept of increasing, or the concern for this efficiency, it should begin right from the employee selection process. So when you're selecting an employee, you should make sure that it is done in a very scientific method. When you're putting an employee into a job, you should make sure that you're putting the employee such that the job meets his physical capabilities, his mental capabilities, his intellectual capabilities. All this is met through the work that you give him. What happens through this process? What happens when you devise a very strategic and scientific employee policy and put employees into the right job? What happens? Through this, the efficiency of employee goes higher and higher. When the employees get more efficient, they produce more, and more output is equal to more revenue, somewhere it translates into better profits. And through this process, we can ensure that there is greater efficiency and prosperity, not just for the workforce, not just for the management, but on the whole, a development of the entire community. So techniques of scientific management. What are techniques? Techniques are ways of implementing the principles of management. So what are the principles of scientific management that we saw earlier? Techniques are nothing but the ways and the means through which you implement the principles. So what does Taylor say? Taylor is a very scientific person who believes only in scientific things, in standardizing the entire process. So even in techniques, you're just going to see the ways of how we are going to implement whatever Taylor said through the mode of principles. So here the first technique. First and foremost, Taylor was the kind of person who concentrated only on factory setup. So when we are speaking about factory setup, foreman or the supervisor plays the major role. So foreman is the lowest of managers, but the most senior of the workforce. He is at the top of the workforce. Taylor wanted the foreman to have certain qualities. In fact, I would say a lot of qualities. He wanted the foreman to have intelligence, grit, mental capabilities, intellectual understanding of processes, and good health, physical strength, energy, the ability to put in efforts. He had so many things for a foreman in mind. He wanted a foreman to have all these qualities. But you tell me, is it possible for any one person to possess all these qualities? No. That is really a doubt. And Taylor was also a very practical person. So what he did is, he divided the entire factory setup, all the qualities of foremanship, he divided into two parts. What are related to mental strength, the mental capabilities, intelligence, grit, and all that, that comes under the planning part. So he divides the factory setup into two parts. One is planning in charge, the other one is production in charge. So planning in charge would be the person who would ideally possess all the intelligence, grit, intellectual capability, understanding of what would be the requirements, strategizing things. So that part would be the planning in charge. And on the execution part, once strategies, once plans are all made, to execute it, the people who execute it in a factory should be people with good health, and they should have energy, they should have good physical strength, and manual dexterity. So however you call it, these should be the people who should possess these qualities. So that he divides into production in charge. So under planning in charge, he makes 4 bosses. Under production in charge, he makes 4 bosses. So who are the 4 bosses in planning in charge? One would be the instruction card clerk, the next one would be route clerk, time and cost clerk, disciplinarian clerk. The name tells everything. So instruction card clerk is the one who keeps instruction cards all through the factory, so that it enables people to know what is next, what is next, what is next. The route clerk is the one who creates the route of production to make sure that this, after this step, this would be the step, after this step, focus on this. And time and cost clerk would be the one who would keep a note on time taken for production, the standard time taken on production, and cost sheet would be maintaining the cost sheet. And disciplinarian would be the one who would ensure discipline in the complete factory setup. And coming to production in charge. So this was on the planning part. Now coming to production part, people who hold the machines and who work. People with physical strength. So first is the speed boss. Speed boss is the one who makes sure that what is the time given for production, whether everything is happening on time. Gang boss would be the one who would take care of all the machinery, all the tools, and make sure that all machinery, equipment, everything is ready for production. Repair boss would be the one who would take care ideally of the repairs and maintenance of the equipment in the factory setup. And the last one would be the manager, who would be inspecting the overall production process. So all these people would be the foremen who would be in charge of looking into what the workman who's working in the factory doing, whether he is doing as per whatever is agreed, whatever is the expected output, whether he is giving that desired output or not. So this concept, this is the first technique of scientific management, and this concept is called functional foremanship. So remember, the entire foreman's qualities, he says some 8 qualities, which includes intelligence, grit, physical strength, mental strength, intellectual capability, manual dexterity. There are certain qualities. So he divides the entire thing into 2 parts, planning part and production part. Planning part involves mental strength.
Production part involves physical strength. Planning part, there are 4 bosses. One's the instruction card clerk, route clerk, time and cost clerk, and disciplinarian. And the production in charge, under that there are 4 bosses: the speed boss, the gang boss, and the repairs boss, and finally the inspector. All this will be the people who will be managing workmen.
So second technique. The second technique of scientific management is standardization and simplification of work. Like the title, the concept is also very simple. So for example, standardization. You go to a mass hero movie, say a Salman Khan movie or a Rajnikant movie or a Balakrishna movie, some mass heroes movie. You go to a mass heroes movie, when you come out, for the next 5 or 6 days or 1 week or 2 weeks, you'll be behaving as though you were that mass hero. And wherever there is a mistake happening in society, you'll be there to go there and address that. And why would you do that? Because the protagonist character of that movie sets some standards in your mind as to this is how you need to behave. And that is a success of mass hero movies. So what is standard? What is standardization? Standardization is nothing but setting standards. For every one of us, since our childhood, we have some sort of standardization at home. There'll be a neighborhood guy who'll be studying much better than us, and he'll be our standard. He'll be set as our standard whether we like it or not. So standardization is the concept of setting standards. With respect to business, it is the concept of setting standards for any business activity. It could be standardization of raw materials, it could be standardization of process, it could be standardization of controls, it could be standardization of time, resources, efforts, it could be standardization of anything. So what is the evolution of standardization? All your Kaizen concept that you're seeing, your business process re-engineering that you're seeing, the benchmarking that you're seeing, all these are subsets of standardization. All these are results, modern day results of what we call standardization. So what does standardization help us? It helps us to have some fixed procedure or fixed type of raw materials, fixed type of processes, a standard procedure, standard process, standard resources, standard efforts, standard people who are good at doing it. It ensures that we achieve some sort of a standard of excellence and quality in materials. The standards, the bar which is set for people to perform, that is increased. So when there is standardization which is set, it first of all helps you to reduce the wastage of efforts, the wastage of cost, the cost leakage wherever it happens in the organization. All that is reduced when your procedure is standardized. And coming to simplification, simplification is very easy. For example, Nokia came out with this big mobile, for one of the first mobiles, the big 1100 model. That mobile was set in a very, very standard tone. I mean, it was set in a very simple way. They did not introduce any further mobiles in the same category, in that 1100 category, because they were very happy, that the customers were very happy, they liked it. They did not introduce unwanted varieties, unwanted colors, unwanted designs, because that would only reduce the concentration that people have on this particular product, which is actually selling well in the market. So simplification is eliminating superfluous or unwanted change in designs, unwanted varieties, unwanted additional outputs that you give, which is not required. The best example for standardization and simplification would be Apple, the iPhones that you see. These iPhones are very standard, the production method is very standard, the designs, whatever designs that are put in, that is very, very regular, that is very standard, but the standards are set at that level that none of the other organizations are able to meet it. And that is the advantage of standardization and simplification of work. Technique on scientific management is method study. Say for example, there is a company. The company has to purchase, say, an equipment. For one of the equipment purchase, the company goes to one vendor from whom it regularly purchases. It goes to the vendor, it pays say 1 crore of rupees, it gets the equipment done, it gets the equipment installed in its factory. This is method 1. Method 2 is the company goes to the vendor, it asks him for what is the rate, and he tells this is the rate. It asks him for bargaining, and then he bargains. I mean, after the bargaining, it ends up at say 80 lakhs. And so the company next goes to one other person. It asks for 2-3 people, say for 2-3 people as to what would be the rate, and all these people give quotations, and based on the quotations, based on whichever is the cheapest rate, the company selects one. So while we see the purchase process, there are different methods to do a purchase process. But it is very important the company chooses which is that process which will help it achieve maximum efficiency and reduce the efforts on the process, reduce the cost involved in the process. So for example, company now makes a standard procedure saying that for any procedure relating to purchase of equipment, the company has to take, the purchase department has to take quotations from at least 3 prospective vendors. And this would be the standard method that would be followed for all purchases of equipment in the future. This is called method study. Devising that standard method, that one best method to do any process is called method study. In an organization, right from purchases, right from input process till output, till marketing, till sale to the customer, till after sales service, for everything there will be one standard method to do every process. And devising this process, this is called method study, which is a technique of scientific management. And remember, assembly line of production that we see in car manufacturing companies and automobile manufacturing companies, that is the result of method study which Taylor brought in. So next, moving on to motion study. Motion means movement. This study analyzes what are all the movements that a person does while carrying out one particular activity. So these motions could be productive motions, could be unproductive motions, could be incidental movements. So productive movements are those movements which are useful for the company, which helps in the company in the production process, which helps the company in churning out the final output to the customer. Unproductive movements. For example, there is a factory worker. He works for half an hour. He moves to his right, walks 25 steps, goes to an employee, chit-chats with him, comes back. He starts working, and next 1 hour he works, and once again he goes to his left or right on another 25 to 30 steps, goes to another employee, moans for the death of a dog at the employee's house, and then comes back. Do you think all these movements, whatever he moves to his left, whatever he moves to his right, to console one employee and to speak, to chit-chat with an employee, all this is going to help the organization? No. These are unproductive movements. So, motion study aims to divide, to determine which are the movements which are productive for the organization, which are unproductive for the organization, and which are incidental in the process of production. So that is motion study. And through the study, what is the objective? Is to educate the employees, the workers, on which are the suitable equipment for them to work and how to operate that equipment such that all the unproductive motions are reduced. The next one is time study. This is fairly simple. The standard time for doing any particular process. For example, based on all analysis, you understand that one employee or one factory worker to produce 10 units, it takes 1 hour for him. And this worker works for 8 hours, 8 effective hours in a day. So how many units he should have produced? He should have produced 80 units. So to produce 80 units, what is the standard time? So it is 8 hours. So to produce 1 unit, what is the standard time? It would be typically 6 minutes. It would work out to 6 minutes because in an hour he produces 10 units. So for 1 unit, it would take 6 minutes. And that, to understand what is the time, what is the standard time taken to produce one output, one product of output, that is called time study. So based on time study, what would happen? So for example, an employee takes, to produce 1 unit, he takes 10 minutes. So somewhere he is inefficient. Whereas another employee, he takes, to produce 1 unit, he takes 5 minutes, which means he is very efficient. So this analysis, this helps the organization to understand which are the employees who are inefficient, which are the employees who are efficient, who can be promoted, which are the employees who are inefficient, who needs to be motivated more to produce better, to work better. That is the result of time study. And in book, if you see, after time study comes fatigue study, but for easy understanding, I have written different piece weight system. This is very easy because these two are very related. So for example, an employee who's very efficient, he would be paid better. Whereas an employee who's a bit inefficient, he would be paid lesser. What would this do? This would help an employee who's inefficient to get motivated, because there will be some sort of a negative motivation because he's not getting paid better, because he's not working better. There are people who are working much better than him, so they are getting paid more. So this would motivate an employee, though negatively, to work better. So that is the result of different piece rate system. He says that for everyone of this cadre, don't pay the same rate. Based on their productivity, pay them. Based on the pieces, number of pieces that they produce, number of pieces of output that they produce every day, pay them. If it is more, give them promotions, give them hikes, keep them happy. If it is less, pay them less, because through that process they'll get motivated. And fatigue study. Fatigue means getting tired. So fatigue study analyzes the rest intervals, the frequency and the number of rest intervals that one person takes during any given activity. So by doing fatigue study, what would be the result? You'll understand why employees get very tired. What is it is tiring them so much? What is the tweak which is required in the process through which the employees will be even more motivated to work better? They'll feel fresh. Is there some other entertainment or some other recreation or some other kind of infotainment which is required within the factory, or some other kind of productive distraction or diversion which is required within the factory, through which their rest intervals will come lesser? So this analysis is done through fatigue study. So these 7 are the techniques of Taylor's scientific management. So just for a revision, for a very fast revision, the first technique is functional foremanship. The second technique is standardization and simplification of work. The third technique is method study. The fourth technique is motion study. The fifth technique is time study. The sixth technique is different piece weight system. And the seventh technique is fatigue study. So guys, hope you're very happy, because we had a very detailed conversation with Mr. Taylor. And be very excited, because next week we are going to meet Mr. Fayol over a cup of coffee. I hope this session was productive enough for you. Please do share your feedback in the comment section. For all those who are seeing this video for the first time, please do like it. Share with as many students as possible, as many people as possible. Do subscribe to our channel for a lot more interesting stuff. We're working in the back end for a lot more interesting content for the student community. Yes, we'll meet you soon next week with another video. Thanks a lot. Have a good week.